Life is actually beautiful, and I have time. Feelings. What about them? For as long as I can remember, my feelings, I've never understood what it meant to feel them. I never understood what it means to um, address them. I grew up observing for as long as I can remember. I just remember observing, remember looking and listening more than I spoke. And I believe that's where I got most of my social cues. Even with the social cues, they never told me how to feel. They only told me or showed me how to react. So I grew up not acknowledging my full spectrum of emotions, but rather knowing how to react to a situation. When to acknowledge that it sounds like I'm on the spectrum of autism. When to acknowledge that what just happened was not okay, and when I should just relax and let things be because it's not a threat, nothing's about to happen. So maybe I was living all my life in fight or flight mode, all my life. Um, in situations where I wasn't in fight or flight mode, I just always felt like I was off. So much so, like turned off, like shut down, locked inside. So much so when I arrived in high school, the first thing I do was just daydream. And I literally created a world in my head. In my head, and actually got locked in one time. Because I would be daydreaming and not realizing that I was daydreaming. I spent a lot of time looking out the window in classes. I mean, I still got work done, but it wasn't really important because I felt like it didn't really matter what I did. I still was going to go through life, whether I accept the norms of society or not. So I just did the bare minimum. Still do today. I never could acknowledge my feelings, and every time I did, no, when I did choose to acknowledge my feelings, it was later in my late teens, and I had to check in with myself when I was friends with a girl that was not so good for me, and I said I was supposed to teach her the right way because she was not a really good person, and I told myself that I was the good person or the good influence she needed, and she started to unnerve me because it's like she was testing me a lot, testing my boundaries and not acknowledging them. And when I put my foot down, it was really hard. I just started to say no, and I had to check in with myself constantly and said, "Are you okay?" And I said no, and that was the first step for me. Continuously checking in on myself to say, are you okay with this? Do you like this? Do you want this to happen? And if I said no, if I said I was uncomfortable, that was it. But that's where my emotions stopped. If I was not okay, and I think I've been trying to search for feelings, and the strongest I've ever felt was love. Infatuation, maybe. I think I fell in love probably 3 times in my life. When I was a kid, and which was silly, but I think it was just a crush. Um, Then it was with my friend, then later became best friend, um, his friend, and then that didn't work out because nothing happened. And then that best friend, so I told him. But I was in love with the friend first, and then when I wanted to make a move at the best friend, my friend, my best friend's friend, my best friend said no, and that's how we ended up talking and dating. I still didn't get with his best friend though. Nothing. Oh, I was so heartbroken that it couldn't progress. But he didn't want me. And he progressively showed me that he didn't want me. So I was just infatuated again. So does that mean I've ever been in love? No then. Gosh, that's sad. But I then had my own feelings or infatuation. And that was the strongest relationship I've had. Do I regret it? I don't regret anything I've done because I chose it. I chose to do it. Some things morally I didn't want to do, but other times when I went with it, I didn't regret it either way. My feelings, I constantly ensure that I check in with myself to understand what I'm truly feeling. I will possibly try to incorporate more words that I can acknowledge other feelings so I can see if I feel them or emote more. But otherwise, I don't. Excitement, um, thrill can be along the side of fear for me. So I don't really like thrillers. But I started to watch them more because I realized there's nothing in this world to fear than reality. Because reality hurts and reality is hard. So I kind of prefer my dream worlds and my fake reality over the real one. And that's my idea of my feelings and what I think of them. But just to close off about love, I didn't grow up in a loving household. I think my parents didn't love each other or fell out of love. But listening to the stories my mom told, I don't think they were in love, which makes me question why they even got married. But I know the story, and the story's another time. But I don't think they were in love when they got married. No, my mom wasn't pregnant or anything. I think there was just another factor because they got children 3 years later, so they had to be married before, you know, they actually had kids, stuff like that. But my grandma said um, she understands why we're so distant and so off-putting. It's because we weren't raised with love. It stuck to me. Well, it stuck to me because I do believe that that's true. I do believe that it's true. Um, so much so that people have to ask permission to touch me because I feel fear or uncomfortable with physical contact. But I know I want it, but I also have to be prepared for it. Yeah. I mean, it's not the worst thing, but it is interesting how you'd raise your kids thinking that you're not gonna hurt them or you're not gonna traumatize them. But you kind of still do, whether it's on purpose or not. There are still some they're still developing and they're still changing and they're still observing. They form their own perception and the perception that you give them, and they form their own experiences as well. So the point is, you're gonna be hurt regardless.